Now I'm going to show you how to make the meringue and how to properly beat a meringue. There are two techniques for doing meringue. One is using a copper bowl where you have to clean the copper with vinegar and salt, rinse it well just with cold water, and then you do that meringue mixture in the copper bowl. Most people won't have a copper bowl, so for this demonstration I will show you how to use a mixer, and we need to add a little bit of acid because that's what the copper does to the egg whites to strengthen the cell structure that forms in the foam. So what we'll do is add a little pinch of cream of tartar, which is really tartaric acid. I'm now preparing the nuts, flour, and sugar for the Japonais mixture. I tend to grind my nuts for these kinds of things in a coffee grinder. I have one that I use just for grinding nuts and spices. Don't overpack and grind it just until the mixture is broken up. There we have a beautiful nut flour mixture. So now I'm going to add my egg whites to my mixer bowl. Both the bowl and the beater have to be impeccably clean because even the least little bit of fat, traces of fat or oil, or even egg yolk, because of the fat component, will interfere with the foam forming. So here we go. What we're doing is just allowing the foam to break up. Now the foam, you could just barely see, is just starting to separate. So it's time to add the cream of tartar, and I'm adding a heaping quarter of a teaspoon. Now we'll increase the speed to high and continue beating the egg white until a soft foam that holds its peaks forms. Now we're ready to add the sugar, and we don't add it all at once, we add it slowly. There we go. Now we'll beat the meringue for about 20 more seconds. Then we'll fold in the ground nuts, flour, and sugar mixture. Just so you know, there are two parts to the sugar ingredient in this mixture, and we have a really beautifully firm meringue that really holds its shape beautifully. Okay, so now we'll fold in the nuts. I like using a spatula, and here's our beautifully ground nut with the second part of the sugar, and it's got a little bit of cake flour. You can use the same weight in either potato starch or corn starch, but in Europe, they always use cake flour, so that's what I tend to do. Put about half the nut mixture in the bowl. And again, we're going to go into the center, up the side, really trying to get it incorporated. Just a few folds, and we're going to add the remainder of the mixture. And we'll continue to fold till it's completely incorporated. Then we'll line the bottom of our pan with this meringue. Some people would pipe this onto a piece of parchment and bake it that way on a sheet pan. I tend to like, because it's just easier, and you get a much more even meringue. There we go, everything is ready. I like taking a cake pan, and it's a springform pan lined with paper. I used baking spray for this. Whenever I'm doing meringues, I like to use the baking spray with flour. And here we're going to get a much more even layer, and it's just a lot easier to do this way. Now we're just going to spread this, and it goes into a preheated 225 degree oven. You use the back of a spoon if you don't have one of these little offset spatulas, or whatever you like, but I like to use the spatula because it's a little bit easier. But the back of a big spoon, if you have a serving spoon, you can use that. And just spread as even a layer as you possibly can. And then it just goes right into the oven. I've just removed my disc of meringue from the oven, and it bakes for 45 minutes at 225 degrees. Then I turn the oven off and allow it to remain for 1 hour in the oven, and here it is. Okay, now I'm going to make the buttercream, and we're going to just lightly whisk the egg yolks, little pinch of salt, simply by hand, goes into the egg yolks. And we are using unsalted butter. That's why we're adding the pinch of salt. And then what we'll do is take 8 ounces of powdered sugar and put it into the egg yolks and make a paste. Okay, the eggs now have the egg yolks, I should say, now have the powdered sugar added. And I've been warming the milk. So now we'll slowly add the milk and loosen the egg yolk mixture. Now normally we would call this process tempering, but you really are not tempering the egg yolks here because they've been stabilized by the cornstarch that's in the powdered sugar. In America, powdered sugar is 3% cornstarch, and that's just enough stabilize the egg yolks. And so now we'll place this mixture with the milk, the egg yolks, powdered sugar, a little pinch of salt into a saucepan and bring it to a full boil. Then we'll beat it on high speed on the mixer and add the butter. So I'll continue. I'll see you in a minute. Okay, you can see the sauce, the creme Anglaise, has really thickened beautifully. Now I'm going to put it in the mixing bowl and beat it until it's room temperature. Then we'll add the softened butter. Now I'm going to add the softened butter. It's 1 pound of butter for this recipe. Once all of the butter has been added, I'll add the vanilla and the curacao.